Well, let's get into your forecast here for Friday, June 27th. Let's take a quick peek, though, to Canada Day up front. We can see our Tuesday on July 1st. We are looking at some pretty favorable weather conditions for many across the country. Fingers crossed for a nice sunny day to enjoy and celebrate this great country. But for today, we are in storm center coverage with some severe thunderstorm activity, not just for the prairies, also in southern Ontario. This was earlier in the week in London. Storm hunter Mark Robinson capturing really well the driving rain and the strong winds. Meanwhile, in Edmonton, we had some hail, and if you spend some time in Alberta in the summer, you can get that quick flash of winter with that hail covering the ground, just like we saw there. But let's take a look here at our storm threat for today. A little bit for Alberta in terms of that possibility of severe weather, but really it's once we get into parts of southern Saskatchewan, the border with Manitoba, where we have that greatest likelihood for severe weather. So strong wind gusts, large hail, heavy rain, possibly some rotating storms that could produce tornadoes as well. So early in the day, pretty cloudy, some rainfall and pockets of storms, but it's really ratcheting up into the afternoon and evening where we start to see some of those meaner looking storm cells that could really put an exclamation mark on this forecast for today. But as we look into tomorrow, still hanging on to some thunderstorm activity, possibility of some severe thunderstorms on Saturday for a good chunk of eastern Manitoba and northwestern Ontario. Heading to British Columbia now, we know for many it has been an exceptionally dry month of June. We do have some scattered showers for today. You can see here some of that activity that we're working with for our Friday, maybe stretching a little bit into the evening and overnight hours before things dry out. And for Vancouver, it has been a month of June that's brought about half of the usual amount of precipitation. And of course, when we head into the kind of throes of wildfire season, we'd like to see the province getting some of that moisture. It has not really been that kind of June. And as we look to the last few days of the month into Canada Day on Tuesday and the first few days of July, looking very dry for Vancouver. Now, heading off to the east, take a look at the humidex value in Windsor, feeling like 44 on our Friday, and some of that heat and humidity helping to provide the energy, the climate to fuel some severe thunderstorms. So this is the second part of the country that we're watching for severe thunderstorm action for our Friday. We see strong wind gusts, large hail, and also that chance of rotating storms that could produce one or two tornadoes. So the wind is going to be a major factor with this, but take a look at how things are timing out. Earlier in the day, have some frontal rain bringing some heavy amounts to more central parts of Ontario, but into the late afternoon and especially into the evening, a pretty menacing looking line of storms developing overnight, shifting further east, and that's going to set up a thunderstorm threat for our Saturday. But here's a look at that rainfall. As I mentioned, some of that moisture in more central areas into Quebec, heavier amounts, but of course those thunderstorms in southern areas, if those do spark up for you, you could see some locally heavier rainfall amounts. And for Saturday, non-severe thunderstorm threat for a bit of eastern Ontario and a good chunk of southern Quebec, maybe even portions of southwest New Brunswick. Now here's a look at Quebec's rainfall. You can see for today, our Friday, heavier amounts moving through, and then some lingering activity into Saturday and cloud cover. Maybe not the nicest start to the weekend, but things should be clearing up heading into Sunday. Meanwhile, for Newfoundland, some frost advisories in effect. Daytime highs not overly impressive, just 12 for St. John's on our Friday afternoon, 11 for Gander. Meanwhile, a pretty nice looking Friday across the Maritimes, but take that in while you can, because the weekend for the Maritimes not looking quite this nice. You see overnight, here's why those frost advisories are in effect. A low of 5 for St. John's, 4 for Gander. So if you do live in one of those areas, do take precautions if you need to against that frost. Now, here's a look at the moisture, the cloud cover arriving for the weekend, and that's really going to set up some active weather for our weekend in the Maritimes. So Halifax, you can see another rainy weekend on tap. The good news is Monday, the final day of June, it looks like a nicer forecast is in store. Cooler temperatures for St. John's will give way to a nice warm Sunday with a high of 22.